All of his men drew their swords out. The sound of clanging blade against the sheath mortified Arjun. And start with the father. He paused. We leave after this, right now. Everyone nodded. The guard close to the tree came to Vishnu, who had been cornered against the branch. The blade came forward. Arjun yelled in agony. And then there was the sounds of hooves, multiple hooves. Startled, everyone looked up to the direction of the sound. The overgrowth and the bushes were torn, and the twigs were broken as a chariot appeared in the clearing, with Kalki on top of it, holding a bow and arrow, with Lakshmi wielding the reins beside him. And with them came an entire band of people, more than the awkward 8-party band of Keshav. Keshav immediately stood up with his dagger, while Arjun leapt onto him before he could attack anyone. Kalki meanwhile had leapt from the chariot and was aiming arrows with deftness and precision. But Arjun couldn't care less of what was happening around him, as Arjun had grabbed hold of Keshav's arm and was not letting the dagger go in any direction. Keshav pushed and pummeled in the air, but nothing worked until Arjun did the unthinkable. He bit his arm. Keshav yelled in pain as he left the blade, tossing it on the ground. Keshav pushed Arjun, and with his legs, locked him and pushed him down. Keshav continued to punch him hard till Arjun could feel his nose lose sensation. Arjun kicked him between the legs, leading Keshav to collapse back, groaning. Arjun wiped the blood from his nose. He went to grab Keshav, but he rolled over and began to get away. Arjun saw Kalki was shooting arrows while Bala was using his make. Lakshmi was using a spear, and the others were pitching as and how they could, not used to any sort of warfare techniques. Many were injured as they staggered, relentlessly in pursuit of a triumph, but clearly failing. He was unable to find Kripa and his father. His eyes scanned around as he called out to his father. Just then, he saw Kalki. You came early, Arjun grunted. You are no one to complain. I never thought you would be captured. You really are my brother. And his eyes narrowed. Are you okay? Arjun couldn't help but smile. We can talk about my miseries and injuries later. Take this. Kalki gave him a dagger. Use it now, he panted, and don't spare anyone. Fight like it's your last day. You don't even know how to fight, and you are giving me life lessons? Want to gamble on that? Arjun rolled his eyes. I have gambled enough for today, brother. And that was when Arjun's eyes met Vishnu's. Amidst the battle, he was the lonely old man, weak and fragile, unlike others. Arjun signaled Kalki to protect Vishnu as they moved forward. Vishnu's face brightened on seeing both his sons, but just then, an arrow pierced his back. Arjun was the first to see as Kalki was shooting arrows at the enemies. At the sight of his father, Arjun yelled, even as he could feel numbness take hold of his body. Arjun knelt next to Vishnu. Kalki saw what had happened and shouted in agony. Arjun grabbed Vishnu and put his head on his lap. Vishnu was giving him the same tolerant and patient look as the one he had given Arjun before he left for his educational tryst at the Gurukul. That look which asked him to bear difficult moments in life with positivity and equanimity. Arjun held him tightly. Kalki came the other side as Arjun slowly massaged Vishnu's head. Kalki instantly pulled out the arrows. You two are the greatest gifts to this world, he said. Arjun, don't forget you are part of the Hari family, not anyone else's. Arjun beamed. And Kalki? Yes, father. Kalki lowered his head down. Vishnu's arm went towards the other side, and it signaled at Kripa, who was sitting away from the scene of violence. What about him? Kalki asked. Kripa? Arjun inquired. Vishnu nodded. Kripa, Tra. Arjun looked up, and at that moment, Kripa shared a distinct look of contact with him and Kalki. And that was when there was a sudden shift of weight, and Vishnu's eyes glassed over. Arjun dug his head against his dead father's chest, while Kalki patted him on the shoulder. Arjun looked at him. I can't believe, I can't, he wasn't supposed to die. There was another arrow flung really close to Arjun when Kalki caught it. Arjun's eyes widened. shocked at what Kalki had just done. Kalki clenched the arrow and it broke in two. Kalki stood up as he began to walk further, heading straight towards the danger as the Mlecha shot another arrow. Arjun saw the arrow pierce Kalki's skin, but unlike Arjun, Kalki didn't yell. He withstood the pain. There was another arrow and another until there were 5 arrows sticking through Kalki's chest, tearing at his clothes. Kalki broke the arrows, pulling them out as he grabbed the Mlecha by the throat. Arjun continued to watch spellbound, while Vishnuit remained in his lap. Kalki grabbed the weak Mlecha by the throat and pulled him up with ease. Arjun could not believe his own eyes, seeing this virile display of strength in front of him. Kalki continued to squeeze the neck, holding it as tightly as possible until it snapped. Arjun turned away, though he could hear the body collapse. The war was over. The village had won, but Kalki and they had lost. Kalki stood over the dead Mlecha before walking away as if none of it mattered to him. It was all Maya, an illusion. Arjun walked over to see the Mlecha. There was a gentle smile that played on his lips. It was of a mocking look of sadistic pleasure, for the corpse were none other than Keshav Nand.